The possibility that power had been ceded to an impaired administrator, or even more terrifying, the possibility that a secretary might abandon their ideological neutrality and favor the desires of one party over the other, gripped the assemblies in paranoia. Constant scrutiny was ordinary in the life of any high secretary. Snap inquisitions like this usually were instigated by overly zealot senators. With a shortage of office space, it was not unusual for these inquisitions to take place in out-of-service buildings. Inquisitions may have been ordinary, but any prudent secretary would be aware of the possibility of treachery. Deville would have been relieved to see an Ophé as his inquisitor.
Hi, I'm Secretary Deville.
Beyond the pomp and ritual, Ophés are bound by
yes,
truth
sir, you are in the correct
and
place.
honor.
Won't you come in and have a seat, please?
The room was very difficult to find. There are no numbers on the doors.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry about that. They've been taken down to be repainted. They're supposed to be back up next year.
Next year.
You know how the government is, Mr. Secretary. As you should, you are the government.
Well, I'm not the entire government.
But you are accountable, correct?
Well, I'm accountable for my area of responsibility, yes. But a year to paint the numbers on the damn doors? That seems excessive. What's this all about anyway? Slag calls me up at 5 a.m. and tells me to be here for a human function test?
There is a downside to dealing with an Ophé. To get a rank, an Ophé would have to complete 40 years of intense education. Not an easy creature to fool.
There must be some mistake. I just had my quarterly evaluation last week. Were there problems with the results?
No, sir, there were no problems. And there is no mistake. You are supposed to be here.
Well, I hope it doesn't take long. I have a very important meeting with the president and majority leader. I have important things to discuss with them. And I was hoping to use this time to prepare.
Yes, sir, I do understand. We will try to be as brief as possible.
Where are the other inquisitors? And the devices?
I am the only inquisitor, and this is the only device.
You have no notes.
I have memorized the questions, sir.
Now, I thought in order to get the proper responses, the questions had to be asked in an exacting manner.
Yes, sir, that is correct. But we are trying a new method today, one that doesn't require 3 people and so many devices. But do not concern yourself. I am fully prepared.
Saving the government money.
And your time, sir. Shall we get started? Can you place your hand on the scanner, please?
Which one?
Doesn't matter. Either hand is fine. You're a natural born in Montana. And you've a birthday coming soon. You'll be 104. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You became Adjunct Secretary of Commerce and Economics at 94. Youngest ever. Then General Secretary of Business and Economics at 102. Also youngest ever.
Well, that was due to the untimely death of Secretary Wheaton. I'm sorry. Did I mess that up? Perhaps I shouldn't respond.
No, that's quite okay. The machine is very sensitive. You may interact if you wish. The last congressional evaluation gave you a 4.5 rating. That's very high. You must be very competent. Or a good politician.
Well, you'd better be a little bit of both these days. I take my job seriously and I do good work, but you can't please everyone.
Negotiating and manipulating for the purpose of fulfilling individual desires in a group in order to remain in place is the purpose of the body politica. If the purpose of the administrator system is for the administrators to be removed from the body politica, then you maintain the system is a failure.
I didn't say that. However, regardless of the system, compromise is a necessity. You can't value any system in absolutes. It can only be judged as to its viability when compared to the alternatives of the moment.
I take it from that statement you are not an idealist.
No, I don't think so. I like to think of myself as a visionary pragmatist. Idealism is reserved for those without responsibility.
That is a very safe approach. You were a risk taker as a young man. Do you still take risks?
No, I don't take risks anymore. I'm responsible for putting food on the table for 600 million people.
Yet you still go to the inner city for sports.
Well, that's not much of a risk. The passage to sports is very secure. I rarely venture from the sports center. I don't indiscriminately rampage around without proper method and reason.
I see. But do you wager?
Well, that's risking my money, not my life. And besides, I don't wager much.
Do you win?
That's why I don't wager much.
Which sport do you wager on?
Female tennis. I know, that sounds savage. But, I seem to have some perverse fascination with organized violence. I suppose we all have a measure of the Philistine in us.
Perhaps we do. But still, some might find female tennis severe for a high public official.
Some might say that.
You've been married 6 times?
Yes.
Your first was an open-ended marriage.
Yes, it was. It lasted 24 years. 24 wonderful years. I'm sorry for that outbreak. It's just that issue hasn't come up in quite some time. I was given to understand that it wouldn't be covered under further inquisitions. I hope the panel isn't too disturbed by this.
I don't know why they should be. Empathy is a positive trait for a public official.
Yes, it is. An essential one. The issue is, however, should one have empathy for one's own condition? That could be considered self-pity.
I'm sorry to dwell on things unpleasant for you. But in your first marriage, was there romance involved?
Yes, there was.
You must feel extremely fortunate to have that happen in your life.
Yes, I do.
But if it were so important to you, why did you allow it to end? I know, should I ever have romance, I would not let it slip through my fingers.
You are an inquisitor. At the end of the day, you go home, and that's it until the next day. For an administrator, there is no end of one day or beginning of the next. Time is a constant continuum. The needs of the citizenry are never ending.
So you chose nation state over romance.
The truth is, you don't make a choice like that. The burden of responsibility transgresses choice.
So then, as an administrator, you are all omnipotent in your power. Yet the nature of responsibility leaves no options for alternatives. It must be extremely frustrating. The temptation would be to dispose of some measure of responsibility and exercise power without the restraints of duty.
That would be the measure of autocracy. The measure of the administrator is in serving the people, not oneself. If the burden of responsibility is not acceptable to oneself, then one should not accept that responsibility.
Your current 5-year matrimonial contract is up in 2 months. Do you think she will renew?
No. There are many issues of contention.
Such as?
Well, we have a clause about no sexual intercourse prior to 4 p.m.
That's ordinary. I have that clause myself.
Well, on occasion, when I've gotten up in the morning, I've pressed the issue a bit. She is adamant about proper sleep time.
So you violated the sexual clause of your matrimonial contract.
Yes. In a number of ways. Unfortunately. I try to be the proper husband, but I keep coming up short.
Short. But your records show that you had penile implant surgery.
I don't mean short in that way. I mean emotionally or economically, whatever. Look, why are we talking about this? I'm certain that my penis size has nothing to do with the welfare of the nation state.
Actually, Mr. Secretary, it has much to do with the welfare of the nation state. Your penis size has much to do with your self-esteem, which has much to do with your emotional conditioning, which has everything to do with the welfare of the nation state.
I see. Well, my penis size would appear to be appropriate. There have been no complaints as far as I am aware of.
Are you suggesting that sexual issues are the only items of contention in your negotiations?
No, it's like debt. The issues compound upon themselves and continue to grow despite best intentions to balance the books.
So you don't think she will renew?
No. I'm sure she's gone.
How does that make you feel?
I wish she would stay, very much. The problem with this contract thing is you get attached to someone, and then the contract's up. And if you've managed to piss them off at all within the 5 years, they're gone.
If that concerns you, why not sign a longer contract?
You must be joking. It's very difficult to get someone to sign a 5-year contract. You have to promise so much. Spouses have no tolerance these days. And as you know, as part of my government contract, I can only accept a minimum 5-year agreement. Most quality spouses don't want anything that long. As far as anything longer, that is a joke.
So what are you going to do?
Live alone, I suppose. That's a painful thought. I love women so much, and I love to be around them. But with my position, I just don't see that it's possible.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Secretary. This completes our inquisition. You're free to carry on your day.
That's it. From this, they're going to determine if I'm capable of running the nation-state's economy.
We all have a lot of confidence in your abilities, sir.
I just can't believe they called me in here for this. This is a waste of time.
As you know, sir, under the rules of inquisition of government officials, the inquisitor is not allowed to comment on any aspect of the session. Those are the rules. To break the rules would be to invalidate the session.
You are very beautiful and charming for an inquisitor.
Being an inquisitor is just a profession, sir.
You mentioned you have a spousal contract.
Yes.
And may I ask, when will that be completed?
26 days?
And will you renew?
No. There have been issues with my residuals that I do not care to recount.
Well, I have no problem fulfilling my obligations, financially, of course. And at this stage of life, I'm more than willing to alter certain behavioral tendencies that seem to be an irritant to my previous spouses.
If you are speaking of the morning intercourse issue, I find that I am an early riser and a morning encounter can be quite invigorating and set a positive tone for the rest of the day.
So you find me attractive then?
Not really. I was merely responding to what I believe was a good faith inquiry as to my availability. But I must say, I do find the cultural and intellectual aspects of marrying a high secretary interesting. And obviously, the financial possibilities of such a union would be of interest as well. Being an inquisitor, though intriguing, isn't particularly socially or financially rewarding.
May I ask the name of your negotiator?
I'm sorry, sir, but a 5-year contract would not be a consideration.
I simply can't let you go for such a reason. You are too special, too lovely. What if I were to allow a rider to the contract, which is legal as I understand it, that if after 2 years you were not happy, which will not be the case because I shall endeavor to ensure your happiness by whatever means necessary, but if you were not happy, you could remove yourself to another portion of the household and cease all marital responsibilities, except for social responsibilities, of course, and with myself maintaining your residuals. Would you be amenable to such an agreement?
I might be. I have previously heard of such arrangements, but it's not generally done, as a person may end up paying for a spouse they can no longer enjoy.
I'd be willing to take that risk.
Very well. My negotiator is H4444.
H with 4 4s. Easy to remember. May I have your name?
10. I am Roman numeral 10.
May I touch you, 10? You are wonderful, 10. Completely. I am totally infatuated. I never would have guessed such a chance encounter could bring someone like you to me.
Mr. Secretary, I would like to make my position perfectly clear. I make no declarations beyond interest in the union, and no commitments beyond good faith consideration of the contract presented to me by our negotiators. Marriage to a high secretary, though there are many measures of advantage, there's also duty and responsibility, and one should not make commitments without due and diligent introspection.
Your position is more than reasonable, and I appreciate your candor. Thank you so much for your kindness and consideration. I have to go now, but you have given my day new meaning.
As you have mine, sir.
It is so good to hear you say that.
What drives an individual to conspire against one's own? Ego? Altruism? Money? Or maybe just payback? Or maybe the most powerful motivating force of all, rejection.
This is sensational. Absolutely sensational. This is far beyond any expectation we may have had going in. The man was absolutely smitten. He could hardly control himself. He will do whatever is necessary to secure 10 for his wife. Madam Engineer, the intellectual prowess is beyond anything I've known previously.
The need and desire for love is far more powerful than any weapon in Slag's arsenal. From the moment we are sentient beings, we have an image of the perfect mate in our conscience. We conduct a lifelong pursuit of this individual, which in the natural state of being we never find, because this individual is a creation of the imagination, a creation of chemicals attaching to receptors and minute electrical impulses. But they sustain only a vision that cannot escape the prison of the imagination.
So what you're saying is, the secretary has walked about his entire life loving 10, but not until this moment has he been able to interact with her in any dimension outside of the cognitive processes. He's never been able to reach out and touch her.
Yes, it is the same with us all, and what we would do for love. Complete love with our perfect mate. Our deepest and most primal romantic fantasies would suddenly materialize in the real dimension right in front of us. You control the person one loves. You have total control.
If that is so, such a weapon could just as easily be turned against us. Not the military, as we have no romantic inclinations, but the rest of the regime would be at risk.
That is why we must move quickly. Neutralize the Secretary Council and seize control. 10. Can you fulfill your mission?
My mission would be to gather all information on the activities of the Secretary, then upon command, assassinate him.
Perfect.
Not quite.
What do you mean, 10?
I mean, I am not perfect.
How so?
During the interview with the Secretary, my rapid access memory modules were not clearing quickly enough. I was forced to switch to my backup overload modules in order to determine if this was caused by a script reading malfunction or a script error in the application program modules. I would have to run a system analysis. To do that, I would have to go into a temporary standby state.
Is there a problem with the hardware, 10?
No, all mechanical and biological systems are appropriate.
Then we will proceed with the coup d'etat.
I'm afraid there is an amiss in your enthusiasm. The Secretary surely suspected that 10 was a cyborg biomechanoelectoral life form. He did perform the check for the Sentient Activation Insertion Hub. He could suspect as well that a quantum technological leap could have been made illegally, and that 10 could be, as she is, a vastly superior unit to what has previously been known. If that were so, we would be simply walking into a trap.
May I remind the Colonel that prior to engaging in an intimate encounter with someone new, the secretary would have to perform the test. This was a statutory perfunctory examination.
10's assessment is precise. 10, as an inquisitor, would have been required to report such a regulatory breach, despite their intimate intentions. You are very special, 10. You and your creator are performing a special service to the people of the nation state. And with your help, we're going to institute charitable autocracy and military subjugation. The people will no longer have to endure the chaos of democracy and a laissez-faire market economy. They will be spared the continual assault from free media. They will be able to live their lives with order, structure, and continuity. They will no longer have to resort to immoral, irrational, and unpredictable behavior to find meaning. Because of you, a civil nation state is at hand.
May I now retire to instigate my repairs?
Of course, 10.